So if we're doing a half times 2/7, all we need to do is do the top times the top. So that's 1 times 2, which is 2, and the bottom times the bottom, so 2 times 7, which is 14. But remember, we always must give them in their simplest form, so we must divide top and bottom by 2, so we get 1/7. Okay, so the second one, a quarter times by a third. Again, top by the top, so 1 times 1, which is 1, and then 4 times 3, which is 12. That can't be any more, so that's in its simplified form. Okay, then we've got 2/5 plus 6/7. So what we need to do is, before we can do anything, we need to put them as a common denominator. So we're going to put them over 35 because that is 5 times 7. So then we need to see, what did we do to 5 to get it to 35? Well, we've times it by 7. And remember, whatever you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. And 2 times 7 is 14. Okay, and then we do exactly the same for this 7. So we think, what did we do to 7 to get it to 35? Well, we times it by 5. Therefore, we must times 6 by 5, which is 30. And a plus sign goes in the middle. So now all we need to do is 14 plus 30, which is 44, and it's over 35. And you can just leave it as that. If you want to, you can put it as a mixed number, which would be 1 and 9/35. Okay, so a half plus a half. Well, unlike before, that's actually already got the same denominator. So we can put 2 there, and then we just do 1 plus 1, which is 2. Well, 2/2 is equivalent to just 1, because that's a whole. If you imagine having a pizza and each slice, and if you've got 2 of those halves, you've got a whole pizza. Okay, so the next one is going to be all of that. Okay, so the next one is a half minus a quarter. Now, just like with adding, we have to have a common denominator. So we're going to make the denominator for that 4. So what have we done to 2 to get to 4? Well, we've times by 2. Therefore, we need to times 1 by 2, which is 2, and that stays exactly the same. And it's a minus in the middle. Our denominator stays the same. So now it's just 2 minus 1, which is 1. And then we've got 2/3 minus 4/5. Again, it's taken away, so we have to have a common denominator. I would choose 15 for that. So what if we times 3 by? Well, we've times it by 5. Therefore, we have to times 2 by 5, which gives us 10. What if we times 5 by? Well, it's 3. So we must times 4 by 3, which gives us 12. Okay, so this one is actually going to be negative, because 10 take away 12 is minus 2, and then our denominator stays the same. So the answer to that is minus 2. So we're doing 1.5 times by 41/2. Now, before we can do anything, we must get this as an improper fraction. So to get that as an improper fraction, we do the whole number, so 1 times the denominator, which is 2, and we add the top. So we've now got 3/2 times 41/2. And then what we can simply just do is times top times the bottom. So 3 times 41 is 123, because if we're thinking 3 times 4 is 12, and then 3 times 1 is 3. That's just a bit of a mental maths way of doing it. And then 2 times 2 is 4. Now it's asked for it as a mixed fraction. So what we must then do is get it as a number and a fraction. So how many whole lots of 4 go into 123? Well, how many whole lots of 4 go in 120? Well, we know that's going to be 30, and then there's 3 left over. So it's 30 3/4. So then we've got 3 1/4 times by 2 1/2. Okay, now just like before, we need to get both of these into improper fractions. So it's still going to say is the denominator is going to stay the same. So we do 3 times 4, which is 12, plus 1, which is 13. And then we do the same here. 2 times the denominator, which is 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. Add the 1 is 5. Then what we do, 13 times 5. Well, 13 times 10 is 50. 5 times 3 is 15. When we add those together, we get 65. And our denominator is 8. Now, hopefully we can see that that's close to 64. So there must be 8 whole lots of 8 in there. And then there's 1/8 left over. Okay, so the next one then, let's just get a bit more space. So the next one is 2 1/2 minus 4 1/8. So just like before, we have to get it as improper fractions. So our denominators stay the same. So we do 2 times 2, which is 4, and add on the numerator. So we get 5. This one, 4 times 8, which is 32. Add 1, which is 33. But now remember with subtracting, we have to have the same denominator. So we're going to take them both to 8. So this second fraction just stays the same. But this top number, we've times 2 by 4. So we have to do exactly the same to the top. So 5 times 4, which is 20. So then when we take those away, we get minus 13 over 8. So as a mixed number, it's minus 1 5/8. So 1 5/6 plus 3 3/2. Again, just like with all of the others, we have to get them as improper fraction. So hopefully we're getting this a little bit more now. So you times the big number by the denominator. So 1 times 6 is 6, and we add on the top. So we've got 11 over 6. Then we do 3 times 2, which is 6, plus the 3, which is 9. But remember, when adding, we have to have a common denominator. So this fraction is just going to stay the same, because that's already over 6. There's going to be a plus in the middle. This one, we need to times both by 3. So 9 times 3 is 27. Then we can do 11 plus 27, which is 38. And it's going to be over 6. And if we put that as a mixed number, well, there's 6 whole lots of 6 in 38. So it's going to be 6, and then there's 2 left over. But we can simplify that even further, because 2 6 goes to 1/3. So now we've got 2 1/4 plus 2 1/8. Again, just going to quickly run through this one, because hopefully we're getting it by now. So that's over 4, that's over 8. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 2 times 8 is 16, plus 1, 17. But we have to have a common denominator. So that stays as 17 over 8. But this, we need to times by 2. 9 times 2, 18. So then we add 17 and 18 together, which gives us 35, still over 8. And then hopefully we can see that the closest multiple of 8 is 32. So that means we've got 4 whole lots and 3/8 left over for that one. So hopefully we'll understand this a little bit better now. It does seem quite confusing at first, but once we've done a couple, we start to see that actually it's not too bad. Okay, so just like before, we make them improper fractions. So 1 times 4 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 2 times 7 is 14, plus 3 is 17. But then we have to get them as common denominators. So we do 4 times 7, which is 28. So what do we do to this fraction? We times by 7. 35 times 7, is 35. This fraction we need to times by 4. 4 times 17. Easiest way to do that in a column. 4 times 7, 28. 4 times 1 is 4, plus the 2 is 6. So we get that that is 68. So when we do 35, take away 68, well, we can do 68 minus 35, which gives us 33. So it must be minus 33 over 28. Well, we can see there's one whole lot, so it's minus 5 over 28. So minus 1 and 5/28. Quite a tricky one there, that last